It's Amanda Williams. I am here today to talk to you about a very simple little B vitamin known as folic acid. Oftentimes, people have heard of folic acid being a very key component when it comes to our nervous system, when it comes to red blood cell production, but oftentimes you don't recognize the actual role that folic acid is playing when it comes to your immune system. So it really is an integral part of our innate immune response. And it happens in such a remarkable way, but yet it is so underestimated in terms of its true importance. And it's just a simple little B vitamin that many people are actually low in. And there's many reasons as to why people may have a folic acid deficiency or insufficiency. First, we can look at the diet. We know that when it comes to dietary folate intake, so the folate is the actual B9 that you are getting from your foods. We know that most Americans are just not obtaining enough of that from their diet. Now, why would that be? Well, we can look at the foods that contain folate, and we recognize those foods to fall into that category of a Mediterranean diet. And understanding that most Americans are still, unfortunately, adhering to the standard American diet, which is SAD. So that's how you remember it. Standard American diet equals a SAD diet. We want to adhere to a Mediterranean diet. So foods that naturally contain folate are things like your green leafy vegetables, bright, beautiful colored peppers, things like avocado, for example, seeds and nuts are really wonderful sources of folate. However, most people are not obtaining those foods on a regular basis to sustain the amount of folate that is required to do all of these different functions: red blood cell production, support of our neurons in our brain, our nervous system in general, as well as for the immune system. Now, there's a really cool protein known as FOXP3, and the FOXP3 regulates these genes that help create homeostasis or balance or equilibrium, you could call it, within the immune system. It helps with our regulatory T cells. Now, what we know about FOXP3 is that this is reliant on folate. So if the body doesn't have adequate folate, FOXP3 is going to struggle in terms of controlling and regulating our immune response. So this is why having folic acid as part of your daily routine is very beneficial. Now, we recognize that many foods are now fortified with folate, but what people oftentimes don't even realize is that that wasn't even mandated until 1998. I understand we're in 2020, but not until 1998 did the US government decide that folate should be incorporated into certain foods. And now that they've done this, they've found a over 20% reduction in neural tube defects, things like spina bifida, for example, since they started to fortify our food. So we obviously realize that this little simple B vitamin really is playing an integral role. This is why oftentimes pregnant women are told that they need additional folic acid in terms of dietary supplementation. So there's so many different ways in which folic acid is working in the human body to maintain our overall health and wellness. So I had mentioned the important role that it plays with that FOXP3. That gets a little heavy, but when we're talking about immunology or the immune system itself, there's so many different regulatory enzymes, proteins, genes, and pathways, and these are always going to tie in to our vitamins and minerals, which is why I talked about the importance of minerals, micronutrients, and our immune system in the past. So we recognize that B vitamins are really crucial to this whole pathway and process to maintain our innate as well as our adaptive immune defenses. So folic acid, this is something that is now fortified into our foods, but oftentimes still not at quantities that can keep up. Because what we know is through immunosuppressants, which is what happens when our immune system starts to kind of depress or dampen down as we get older. We know that our folic requirements will go up. So as people are getting older, oftentimes your requirement for folic acid is going to be much higher. And they usually aren't assessing this or really addressing this issue. So having a folate test, a serum folate test done is often a good idea. But here's another little fun fact, and this is key right now because we're dealing with this pandemic. There was a study that came out that showed that during the spring and summer, because of UV, so people are out in the sun more, that they have found that that actually hinders your body's ability to maintain good folic acid status. So folic acid levels actually go down in the human body during the spring and summer. So what does that mean for your immune defenses during this time? It means that you can be more open to a potential infection. So we don't want that to happen. It's almost the reversal of what happens with vitamin D. They always talk about vitamin D in the sun, and your levels can go up if you spend time in the sun, which we know happens to a certain degree, but we always have to be wise about that. Oftentimes, people are not obtaining adequate vitamin D just from the sun alone. So that's why having your serum 25 hydroxy vitamin D test is always advantageous. Have it done at least once a year. Now, when we think about that, we know in the summer, people have a greater likelihood of not being insufficient or deficient in vitamin D. Well, the complete opposite is true of folate. Folate levels go down during the spring and summer. So during those times, you definitely want to make sure that you are supplementing with folic acid. Now, this can come in many different varieties. You can do folic acid by itself as a standalone. You could certainly obtain this through a B complex or from a multivitamin. So you can look at our core multivitamin, our performance, men's and women, all contain folic acid. Actually, it contains the biologically active form known as methylfolate, which is my favorite form of folic acid. So by using the methylfolate, this really helps to enhance the way that your body is going to absorb this in. Remember, we want to maintain that immune system regulatory homeostasis. And how can we achieve that? By making sure that that FOXP3 protein has enough folate available in the intestines. So if we are supplementing with folic acid, we're on that right path. So keep this in mind. Oftentimes when we think about our immune system, we're thinking about probiotics, we're thinking about vitamin D, all of which we need and are needed. But don't overlook the role of something as simple as folic acid that plays such an integral role in so many aspects of our health. So keep that in mind the next time you go and you have blood tests done, have your folate level looked at. Sometimes if you're at the lower end, that may be an indicator that you definitely need to be supplementing with more folate in your diet. Eat those green leafy vegetables, incorporate things like seeds and nuts. Try and get a good dietary intake of folate, but also don't forget your supplemental form of folate as well. So that's all I have for you today. I will be back with you tomorrow. Remember, our stores do remain open, so you have curbside pickup available for your convenience. Definitely reach out to us if you happen to have questions. Check out our daily podcast as well as our radio shows, which we have every day. So for great health and nutrition information, keep tuning in, and we will be here to help you help yourself. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.